Okay, today I'm going to show you how to brew a large size batch on this brewing system. We're going to do 23 gallons today, all grain. We're going to do a summer ale that is mostly Pilsner with a little bit of Munich and white wheat malt. The hops are going to be all Zythos with 3 ounces at 45 and an ounce and a half at 10. Should give us an IBU of 30. The ABV should be around 4.6 to 5 depending on what efficiency we hit at this big batch. We're shooting for an OG of 1046. We'll see how that goes. I did 85% RO water in the mash because the hard water out here in this deep well is not that good. All the sparge water is hard water, and we're going to make the correct mineral additions that we need and lactic acid to get both the sparge and mash water pH correct. The water is heating right now, so we should be able to mash in shortly, and I'm going to go mill the grain. Now that we're ready to go, it's time to mash in. Now that the mash temperature has stabilized at our target of 150, I'm going to start recirculation, which means I'm going to pump the mash water out of the mash tun through the pump and through my Herms coil, and the HLT water is set just higher than what we want to have our mash target at, so that way it'll keep the temperature even though it is doing some cooling through the hoses. And then once it goes through the Herms coil, it'll come back out and go up through our sparge arm and then filter through the grain bed and come back through our pump again. We'll do that for the remainder of the mash. As you can see, we have the recirculation going on now, and it's going to start setting the grain bed, and once the conversion is mostly done, the mash water will become clear, and it will almost look like we're sparging until we actually start running the clear sparge water over top of it. Okay, our mash is now complete. We went for 1 hour, and now I am heating the hot liquor tank up to sparge temp, which will also raise the mash temperature up to a mash out of hopefully 168. So we'll see how long it takes to get there, and then we'll start our sparge. Okay, we now have our mash sitting at 168. It's been there for about 10 minutes. Our sparge water is just over 170. And I'm going to transfer the hoses to send the mash water into the boil kettle, and then I'm going to trade that water pump from recirculating and put it into my mash in
so I can run all of the mash water out of the Herms coil, and then it'll go right through the sparge arm, just like it's been going for recirculation. Okay, you can see here how we're just done with the mash recirculation. We're about ready to sparge. It has set the grain bed. Very nice. You can see how clear that mash water is that's coming out there. Over here is a look at our Herms coil. And the way I have this set up right now is I'm recirculating the water from the water out to the water in. And there's an elbow in there that spins the water so it's consistent all around the coils. What I'm going to do now is take the water out and put it in the mash in, and it'll pump all that beer right out of there, right up here through the sparge arm, and we'll start running clean new water out of there. And then the mash out will go through the pump and run in the wort inside here, which is also our whirlpool arm for later. You can now see we're filling the boil kettle through the whirlpool arm right now, and I'll start the propane to get it up to almost a boil by the time we're done sparging. Just wrapping up the sparge, and now we'll drain out the mash water to top off the boil kettle.
Looks like we hit about a 1052 pre-boil gravity, so our efficiency is 86.5%. So we're going to have to maybe add a little bit of water once some boils out because we're too high of an efficiency. We're going to end up making a 6% beer instead. While the boil's going, I take the time to empty out the mash tun and get it clean so I don't have so much to do when the day's over. Okay, the boil's done. We added our last hops and nutrient and whirlfloc. We're now doing a whirlpool. See the liquid spinning around in there. We haven't had the chiller in quite yet. We're going to do a whirlpool to get some of the stuff moving around. Then we'll drop the chiller in. It'll be sanitized, and then we'll start chilling. Okay, the whirlpool is done. We have the chiller in, sanitized, and now we are currently chilling. I'm leaving the whirlpool running to chill the beer a lot faster. And then once we get down to maybe about 70 to 75, I'll cut the whirlpool, let everything settle down for a little bit, and drop to the bottom. And by that time, the chiller would have dropped it a few more degrees. Hopefully we'll be around 65 to 68. And then we'll pull off the side of the kettle to hopefully leave a lot of the trub in the bottom. Okay, we're about ready to turn off the whirlpool. We're pretty much down to just above pitching temperature. I wheeled the brewery over to the fermenting chamber where I will run with the pump directly into the fermenter so we don't have to lift or move anything after it's full. Once that's settled down, I'll hook up the hoses and start the transfer. We hit a 1052 gravity. We're shooting for a 1048, but that's because we hit such a high pre-boil gravity. I did add a little bit of water to back that back down, make sure the hop IBUs were still intact the way I wanted, so I think it'll be just fine. Okay, we're done letting the whirlpool settle. We are now transferring directly into the sanitized fermenter. We are at about 68 degrees, so I think everything is done and good. All we got to do is clean the brew kettle, and I might even clean off the stand a little bit today. Okay, another thing I wanted to show you guys is my fermentation control setup. Right now that's a 25 or 30 gallon food grade container with a spigot and an airlock, and that is, you know, full with about 22 or 23 gallons of wort. And I have a temperature probe taped to the side along with a massive bubble wrap insulation, so I'm getting a pretty accurate temperature of what the actual beer is doing. There's also a firm wrap in there along the back side. You can see the cord just coming out there. And then the whole door shuts, and it's controlled by a dual stage Ranco controller. So I can set it at 67 just how I want it. And then if I want to either ramp it up or cool it down, I can do that all in the same freezer. Also, I pitched White Labs or Y Yeast 1056. It was a pitch off of a fermenter at New Holland Brewing, and that was, I believe, their Sundog Amber. And I also ran pure oxygen into it with an oxygenation stone, and I did that at 1.5 liters per minute for 1 minute. Thanks to my little brewing helper, my little assistant for the day. His name is Brick.